Okay, so these dentures have just come straight out of the flask. We've just deflasked them, and they look pretty good. They're 0-degree teeth, and you can see that on this side they're meeting pretty well. We're going to grind in the bite. After you've deflasked your denture, you have to grind in the bite before you take it off the models. Once you've taken it off the models, it gets really difficult to correct the bite. So put them back onto the mounting rings that you knocked them off of to do your processing. Then what you do, some people like to glue the models to the mounting rings. Generally what I'll do is just hold them in place with my fingers really securely. And on this side the teeth are meeting fairly well, but on this side they're a little bit open. So we have to grind in the bite. You'll probably have to grind in the bite on every case that you process. Before you just take out your articulating paper and start smacking the teeth together though, what you want to do is first take a look at the dentures. See what's not touching. So here we can see this side's pretty good. This side has some openings, particularly on the 6th there. These are 0-degree teeth, so we want all of the teeth to meet as fully as possible. Also, before you start, hold the models really securely together and just tap and listen to the sound. As you grind in the bite and you get more contact on more teeth, that sound of how the teeth hit together will change. But the biggest tool that we use for grinding in the bite is the articulating paper. All the articulating paper is double-sided carbon paper. One side, in this particular brand, one side red, one side blue, which is useful. Some types have both sides the same color. What we're gonna do with the articulating paper, put it between the teeth, upper and lower. Doesn't matter which color you have, up or down. I'm going to hold the models securely in place, and I'm going to gently tap the teeth together. I'm not going to smash the teeth as hard as I can. I'm just going to gently tap them. And then I take the paper and turn it over and tap it again. The reason you turn the paper over is because the carbon paper is going to give you what's called a false positive. You're going to get some marks on the carbon paper where you don't actually have a contact between the teeth, because the carbon paper has a thickness. So the carbon paper is going to touch places that the teeth don't touch. By turning the paper over, what we can look for now is spots where we have both a blue and a red mark. And what that indicates is the places that actually do have a true contact between the upper and lower teeth. When you look at the contacts, what you can see in a case like this, is that in focus? No? Not close enough. Oh, it's not close enough? Okay. What you can see here is that we've got a ring of articulating of dye around the outside, and it's kind of blank in the center. It looks like a donut. What that does is it shows us this is a heavy contact. It's hitting hard there. The articulating paper, when you've got a hard contact, tends to pull away in the center, and you get this donut shape. So that's going to be one of our heaviest contacts. We've also got a good contact over here, and we've got a good contact here. On the lower, you can see we've got the contact. We've got a contact there, got a contact there, and I'll have to take a closer look. This might be a contact. But you'll notice that here we have red contacts there, and we have red contacts here, and we've got red contact only here. Those are all false contacts. There's not really a articulating contact there, or if there is, it's a very light one. So we don't want to adjust that yet. As here on the lower, we've got blue marks here and here, and we have heavier marks in this area. So before we start grinding anything away, again, we're going to look at it. We're going to put it back onto the articulator. We're going to look at each of these heavy areas that we think is a good contact, and we're going to make sure that there actually is a contact there, and yes, there is. So now we can look at this contact, this one that we're not sure if there's a contact. We take a look, and not really. Let me put my glasses on so I can actually see. There's not, even though there's a heavy, fairly dark blue mark there, there's not really a contact because it's hitting just on that ridge. So there's maybe a very light contact in that area. So we could take off just a little bit, but you don't want to grind this as much as you want to, or this as much as you want to grind the much heavier contact up there. On the other side, we have contacts here on the lower buccal cusps, and we have contacts here in the maxillary central fossas, which is pretty typical. And when we look, if I hold the models really well onto the articulators, we do have a contact here, but we don't have a contact back there because the entire 6 is out of occlusion. So what's happening right now is that this single marginal ridge right here is what's holding this side of the denture out of occlusion. Generally, what we're going to do, we've got contacts on the mandibular buccal cusps here. We don't really want to reduce these buccal cusps if we can avoid it, because the chances are if we've got a mandibular buccal cusp contact, that contact is going to be in a maxillary central fossa. So it's much better to reduce the central fossa here than it is to reduce the cusps here. Generally, you'll reduce fossas in preference to cusps. And the same over here, we're going to reduce this maxillary central fossa. In this case, we have the lower contact is on this marginal ridge. We'll start with the fossa on the maxilla. We might have to also reduce a little bit on the mandible. To grind in the bite, you can use whatever burrs you like, but just a simple round burr. Something along the order of a number 8, 10, or 12 round burr will work really well. You can also use something like this, or the pear-shaped carbide burrs also work really well. You want to try to use a fairly small burr to do the adjustments, because if you use a large burr, you're just going to trim away more than you actually need to. Your handpiece is good for doing these adjustments because you only want to do a little bit of adjustment at a time. You don't want to take a whole lot off the tooth. On the lower, I'm going to do just a very small adjustment over that ink spot, mostly just to get the ink out of the way. Can you just give me a paper towel, please? Thank you. And now before I check it again, I'm just going to use a paper towel or Kleenex or whatever to take off the ink spots that I just put on, so that I'm not adjusting to the same ink spots each time. Each time I'm getting new spots from the articulating paper to show how the bite has changed. So what we've got is that most of our occlusion right now is taken on these two teeth, these two second premolars. So we're going to have to adjust those teeth to adjust the bite.